Hey, I'm Hannah. I'm a writer. Here are some Skillshare classes if you're also a writer, and here are some short story collections if you like to read. Everything's linked in the description. If you're new, we're rewriting Twilight. We're on chapter 2 right now. If you want to catch up, there's a That's so embarrassing. There's a playlist. It's somewhere. Anyway, if you love Twilight, I'm just making it a little crisper. A lot of people in my comments don't seem to understand. When I'm editing Twilight, I'm editing on this document that I have on my computer. It actually doesn't affect all of the other versions of Twilight. Where did we leave off? Bella and Charlie were settling into their life together. Cute, cute, cute. That night it was finally quiet. I fell asleep quickly, exhausted. The rest of the week was uneventful. I got used to the routine of my classes. By Friday, I was able to recognize, if not name. Whoa, that's a different sentence. By Friday, I was able to recognize, if not name, almost all of the students in school. In gym, the kids on my team learned not to pass me the ball and to step quickly in front of me if the other team tried to take advantage of my weakness. I happily stayed out of their way. Edward Cullen didn't come back to school. I'm just gonna say never showed up. Or Edward Cullen was still absent. Every day, whoa. Do you see this comma? That's a time clause. And you can put a comma, or you could not put a comma. But I think it's weird that here's a time clause without a comma. Here's a time clause without a comma. Stephanie, pick a lane. Every day I watched anxiously until the rest of the Cullens entered the cafeteria without him. I'm going to say every day I watched the other Cullens enter the cafeteria without him. Then I could relax and join in the lunchtime conversation. Mostly it centered around a trip to the La Push Ocean Park in 2 weeks that Mike was putting together. Imagine planning a trip for 2 weeks when you're in high school, like a day trip, like you and your friends are driving somewhere and you have to plan it weeks in advance. My dog's doing something weird. I'll be right back. Every day I watch the other Cullens enter the cafeteria without him. I don't think we need the rest of this to be complete summary. Why is there so much summary in this? But since we already said that she's in the cafeteria, because every day she watches them enter the cafeteria without him, so then I'm going to put something like, "Are you gonna come?" Mike's voice pulled me back to the conversation at our table. Or something like that. What's something that kids eat in cafeterias? I'll just have her blink at him. I blinked at him. I can't believe that they're planning this trip so far ahead of time. People, I'm going to skim, and I might cut like half this chapter. Give me a minute. Okay. By Friday, I was perfectly comfortable entering my biology class, no longer worried that Edward would be there. For all I knew, he had dropped out of school. I tried not to think about him, but I couldn't totally suppress the worry that I was responsible for his continued absence, ridiculous as it seemed. My first weekend in Forks passed without incident. Charlie, unused to spending time in the usually empty house, worked most of the weekend. Oh, God, why is there so many words? Cleaned the house, got ahead on my homework, and wrote my mom more bogusly cheerful email. I did drive to the library Sunday, but it was so poorly stocked that I didn't bother to get a card. I would have to make a date to Villas Olympia or Seattle soon and find a good bookstore. I wondered idly what kind of gas mileage the truck got and shuddered at the thought. The rain stayed soft over the weekend, quiet, so I was able to sleep well. People greeted me in the parking lot Monday morning. I didn't know all their names, but I waved back and smiled at everyone. It was colder this morning, but happily not raining in English. Mike took his accustomed seat by my side. We had a pop quiz on Wuthering Heights. It was straightforward, very easy. All in all, I was feeling a lot more comfortable than I had thought I would feel by this point. More comfortable than I had ever expected to feel here. When we walked out of class, the air was full of swirling bits of white. I could hear people shouting excitedly to each other. The wind bit at my cheeks, my nose. "Wow," Mike said. It's snowing. Okay, I think I'm gonna cut out that whole weekend because who cares? Say something like, "Are you going to come to the beach with us?" Sure, I said, completely out of politeness. Beaches should be hot and dry. I wouldn't have even called La Push Ocean Park a beach. I think that's better than all of this. Okay, I'm just gonna, We can just show that she's feeling comfortable. We don't need to know. Okay, so we're just gonna skip all the way ahead. We're gonna pretend like Monday is this day. When we walked into the parking lot, I guess, the air was full of swirling bits of white. I could hear people shouting excitedly to each other. The wind bit at my cheeks, my nose. And nose. That kind of sentence structure. Saya, what? You want to come up here? Do you want to come up here? Come on. Come on. Come on up. Good girl. Here's my dog. Yeah, so that sentence structure is fine, but it's used for emphasis or stylistically, and that's not being used that way here. So it's just distracting and weird. Like you're just giving a straightforward bit of description. The wind bit at my cheeks and nose. That's fine. Wow, Mike said. It's snowing. Mike is an idiot. I'm in love with him. I looked at the little cotton fluffs that were building up along the sidewalk and swirling erratically past my face. Ew. Snow. There went my good day. Were you having a good day, babe? He looks surprised. I'm just going to put ew. He looks surprised. Don't you like snow? No, that means it's too cold for rain, obviously. Besides, I thought it was supposed to come down in flakes. You know, each one unique and all that. These just look like the ends of Q-tips. Has she never seen snow before? Haven't you ever seen snowfall before? He asked incredulously. Sure I have, I paused. On TV. Mike laughed, and then a big squishy ball of dripping snow smacked into the back of his head. We both... Oh, there it is. I was like, that's the end. We both turned to see where it came from. I had my suspicions about Eric, who was walking away, his back toward us, in the wrong direction for his next class. Mike, apparently had the same notion. He bent over and began scraping together a pile of the white mush. Mike apparently had the same notion of what? Going in the wrong direction for class? I feel like this is a first draft. So Stephanie had this thought, and she was like, this is what I want it to be. And she wrote it out, and then she did not read it again. Mike bent over and began... I tell you guys this all the time. Anytime you have began or started to or some kind of launch phrase into an action, you can almost always cut it. Mike bent over and scraped. You don't have to say of the white mush. We all know what snow is. We can just say and scraped up a snowball or something. Like, we know what he's doing. We don't need vague words. I'll see you at lunch, okay? I kept walking as I spoke. Once people start throwing wet stuff, I go inside. He just nodded, his eyes on Eric's retreating figure. You know what we could say instead of that? His eyes on Eric. You see how that's still a sentence and it's less stupid? Throughout the morning, everyone chattered excitedly about the snow. Apparently, it was the first snowfall of the new year. I kept my mouth shut, sure it was drier than rain, until it melted in your socks. Everyone chattered excitedly about the snow. I walked alertly to the cafeteria with Jessica after Spanish. So she's already been in the cafeteria because we cut out the weekend pass. So I'll see what we can do about making this not happen. Mush balls were flying everywhere. I kept a binder in my hands, ready to use it as a shield if necessary. Jessica thought I was hilarious, but something in my expression kept her from lobbing a snowball at me herself. Mike caught up to us as we walked in the doors, laughing with ice melting the spikes in his hair. He and Jessica were talking animatedly about the snow fight as we got in line to buy food. I glanced toward... I'm just going to put got in line, like what else are you doing in a cafeteria? I glanced toward that table in the corner out of habit, and then I froze where I stood. There were 5 people at the table. Jessica pulled on my arm. Hello, Bella, what do you want? I looked down. My ears were hot. I had no reason to feel self-conscious, I reminded myself. I hadn't done anything wrong. I'm going to take out I reminded myself because that's too many selves in a sentence. I'm also going to take out that semicolon, make it a comma, take out the word were to make that a fragment. I looked down, my ears hot. Perfect. What's with Bella? Mike asked Jessica. Nothing, I answered. I'll just get a soda today. I caught up to the end of the line. Aren't you hungry? Jessica asked. Actually, I feel a little sick, I said, my eyes still on the floor. I waited for them to get their food. Why is that italicized? Thoughts? Then followed them to a table, my eyes at my feet. Where's she looking? Does anyone know? Do you think she's looking down? I look down. My eyes still on the floor. My eyes on my feet. Since she summarizes everything in the entire world, we don't need like a play-by-play of them being here, then being here, then being here. So I'll just cut that out. I sip my soda slowly, my stomach churning. Twice, Mike. Oh my God. There's a very big storm outside. It's a little bit scary. Woo! There go the trees. Okay. Twice, Mike asked with unnecessary concern how I was feeling. I told him it was nothing, but I was wondering if I should play it up and escape to the nurse's office for the next hour. Ridiculous. I shouldn't have to run away. Bella, why are you so annoying? I decided to permit myself one glance at the Collins family table. If he was glaring at me, I would skip biology. Like the coward I was. I kept my head down and glanced up under my lashes. None of them were looking this way. I lifted my head a little. The most description we've gotten in this chapter is clarification that Bella is looking down. I've had enough. They were laughing. Edward, Jasper, and Emmett all had their hair entirely saturated with melting snow. Water? Alice and Rosalie were leaning away. What? You don't like this story? She doesn't like it. They were enjoying the snowy day just like everyone else, only they looked more like a scene from a movie than the rest of us. But aside from the laughter and playfulness, there was something different, and I couldn't quite pinpoint what that difference was. I examined Edward the most carefully. His skin was less pale, I decided, flushed from the snow fight. Maybe the circles under his eyes much less noticeable. But there was something more. I pondered, staring, trying to isolate the change. Nobody cares. Bella, what are you staring at? Jessica intruded, her eyes following my stare. At that precise moment, his eyes flashed over to mine. Everyone's eyes are doing things all the time. I dropped my head, letting my hair fall to conceal my face. I was sure, though, in the instant our eyes met, that he didn't look harshly or unfriendly as he had the last time I'd seen him. He looked merely curious, again, unsatisfied in some way. Edward Cullen is staring at you, Jessica giggled in my ear. Doesn't look angry, does he? I couldn't help asking. I have an idea. Bear with me. So no one cares about anything that's happened in this scene. So I'm going to take from there. We're going to scroll on up. We're going to scroll on up. Dun, 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 dun. You ready for this? It's done. And then to fix that I made it 2 days, I'm just going to poop. The next day, I stepped out of my truck into swirling bits of white. Perfect. And then I'm just going to put a scene break here. Edward Cullen is staring at you. Jessica giggled in my ear. And then I'll have like, I'd been purposely not looking at that side of the cafeteria ever since I saw he was back. What is this? Okay. He doesn't look angry, does he? Look at all those words we cut out. Isn't this so much better? I think it is. No, she said, sounding confused. I'm just gonna put sounding confused. No, she said. Should he be? I don't think he likes me, I confided. I still felt queasy. I put my head down on my arm. I felt queasy. I'm going to take out I confided. I don't think he likes me. I felt queasy. And dropped my head down on my arm. The Collins don't like anybody. Well, this should be capitalized. Stephanie. Well, they don't notice anybody enough to like them, but he's still staring at you. Stop looking at him, I hissed. She snickered, but she looked away. I raised my head enough to make sure that she did, contemplating violence if she resisted. I'm going to take out if she resisted to make sure she looked away. She snickered. And I raised my head enough to make sure she obeyed, contemplating violence, I guess. Mike interrupted us then. I'm going to take out then. It's not necessary. Mike interrupted us. He was planning an epic battle of the blizzard in the parking lot after school and wanted us to join. Jessica agreed enthusiastically. The way she looked at Mike left little doubt that she would be up for anything he suggested. I kept silent. I would have to hide in the gym until the parking lot cleared. For the rest of the lunch hour, remember what I said about time clauses? Stephanie Meyer, if you're ever watching these videos, I would love to collaborate. Do you like my edits? I think we could do great things together. I very carefully kept my eyes on my own table. I'm just going to take it out very carefully because I decided to honor the bargain I'd made with myself. Since he didn't look angry, I would go to biology. My stomach did frightened flips at the thought of sitting next to him again. Who cares? I didn't really want to walk to class with Mike as usual. He seemed to be a popular target for the snowball snipers, but when we went to the door, everyone besides me groaned in unison. It was raining, washing all traces of the snow away in clear icy ribbons down the side of the walkway. I pulled my hood up, secretly pleased I would be free to go straight home after gym. I didn't want to walk to class with Mike. He seemed to be a popular target for snowball snipers. It was raining, washing all traces. What if we just put washing the snow away in clear icy ribbons down the side of the walk? Or you just say down the sidewalk. The side of the walkway. Just say sidewalk. I pulled my hood up, secretly pleased I would be free to go straight home after gym. Okay, maybe the snow is gonna come up. Maybe something in this is relevant or important, but we set up that she hates snow and that there's snow and she's so upset and she's gonna have to avoid it. But great news, now there's not snow. She doesn't have to avoid it. In the space of like a page. Did we have to have snow at all? That's the question. Does any of this matter? When can the plot start? Okay. Mike kept up a string of complaints on the way to building 4. Once inside the classroom, I saw with relief that my table was still empty. Mr. Banner was walking around the room, distributing 1 microscope and box of slides to each table. I'm sorry, guys. I'm keeping myself awake. Class didn't start for a few minutes, and the room buzzed with conversation. I kept my eyes away from the door, doodling idly on the cover of my notebook. Is that what they're calling it these days? I heard very clearly when the chair next to me moved, but my eyes stayed carefully focused on the pattern I was drawing. I don't like that it says focused because she's not focused. She's thinking about Edward. But my eyes stayed on the pattern I was drawing. Or on my drawing. Isn't it great when we can use 4 words instead of 3,000? Hello, said a quiet musical voice. Wait. Hello. I looked up, stunned that he was speaking to me. He was sitting as far away from me as the desk allowed, but his chair was angled toward me. His hair was dripping wet, disheveled. Even so, he looked like he just finished shooting a commercial for hair gel. What? His hair is wet? Is that what hair gel is supposed to do? His dazzling face was friendly, open, a slight smile on his flawless lips, but his eyes were careful. What does that mean? Stephanie, what do careful eyes look like? What if we just say he folded his hands carefully in front of him? You know, then he kind of seems hesitant, seems careful, whatever. My name is Edward Cullen, he continued. I didn't have a chance to introduce myself last week. You must be Bella Swan. My mind was spinning with confusion. My mind was spinning. Had I made up the whole thing? He was perfectly polite now. I had to speak. He was waiting, but I couldn't think of anything conventional to say. Conventional? How do you know my name? I stammered. He laughed, a soft, enchanting laugh. He laughed, comma, Soft and enchanting. Oh, I think everyone knows your name. The whole town's been waiting for you to arrive. I grimaced. I knew it was something like that. Bella, shut up! No, I persisted stupidly. I meant, why did you say Bella? He seemed confused. Do you prefer Isabella? No, I like Bella, I said, but I think my dad, must call me Isabella behind my back. That's what everyone here seems to know me as. I tried to explain, feeling like an utter moron. What do you mean try to explain? You just explained. I explained. Oh. He let it drop. I looked away awkwardly. Thankfully, Mr. Banner started class at that moment. Weren't you just talking shit about Mr. Bannister? Mr. Banner? Mr. Bannister? Thankfully, Mr. Banner started class at that moment. I tried to concentrate as he explained the lab we would be doing today. Let's just say as he explained the lab. The slides in the box were out of order. Working as lab partners, we had to separate the slides of onion root tip cells into the phases of mitosis they represented and label them accordingly. We weren't supposed to use our books. In 20 minutes, he would be coming around to see who had it right. What if we just take this out? Because no one's doing this biology lab, Stephanie. We don't need to know it all. Get started, he commanded. Ladies first, partner, Edward asked. I looked up to see him smiling a crooked smile so beautiful. What do people think crooked smile means? Him smiling, so beautiful that I could only stare at him like an idiot. I'm gonna take all... Bella, we don't need to be like this. It doesn't have to be this way. Or I could start, if you wish. The smile faded. He was obviously wondering if I was mentally competent. Bella! No, I said, flushing. I'll go ahead. I was showing off, just a little. I'd already done this lab, and I knew what I was looking for. It should be easy. I snapped the first slide into place under the microscope and adjusted it quickly to the 40x objective. I studied the slide briefly. My assessment was confident. Prophase. Do you mind if I look? He asked, as I began to remove the slide. His hand caught mine to stop me, as he asked. His fingers were ice cold, like he'd been holding them in a snowdrift before class, but that wasn't why I jerked my hand away so quickly. When he touched me, it stung my hand, as if an electric current had passed through us. I'm gonna take out my hand. I'm sorry, he muttered, pulling his hand back immediately. However, he continued to reach for the microscope. I watched him, still staggered. Guys, SOS, please someone help me. As he examined the slide for an even shorter time than I had. Okay, I'm gonna take that out. Bam. And we're just gonna say, pulling his hand back immediately. But he leaned forward to glance in the microscope. Prophase, he agreed, writing it neatly in the first space on our worksheet. He swiftly switched out the first slide for the second, then glanced at it cursorily. I don't know what cursorily means. I will say, Stephanie Meyer's been expanding my vocabulary. Oh, like cursory. Anaphase, he murmured, writing it down as he spoke. I'm just gonna put writing as he spoke. I kept my voice indifferent. May I? Oh, is she gonna challenge him a little bit right now because they've both taken this course already? Bella because she just moved from another school, and Edward because he's got nothing fucking better to do? He smirked and pushed the microscope to me. Imagine being 109 years old in your 70th senior year, being real smug that you've taken biology 101 before. Imagine looking at a child who's in school and being like, I've studied this every single year of my life. I'm better than you. I looked through the eyepiece eagerly. She said, "Hwah!" Only to be disappointed. Dang it. He was right. Slide 3. I held up my hand without looking at him. He handed it to me. It seemed like he was being careful not to touch my skin again. We've got rep of hand here. He dropped it in my palm without touching me. Okay. Interphase, I said, comma, after taking the briefest glance possible. I passed him the microscope before he could ask for it. This is a good little bantery moment between this child and this elderly man. There's nothing that we can do to make this premise okay with me, but he took a swift peek and then wrote it down. Took a swift peek and jotted it down. We can just have fewer words. We don't have to have this many of them. I would have written it while he looked, but his clear, elegant script intimidated me. I didn't want to spoil the page with my clumsy scrawl. When you hate yourself and everything about you. We were finished before anyone else was close. I could see Mike and his partner comparing 2 slides again and again, and another group had their book open under the table, which left me with nothing to do but try not to look at him. Unsuccessfully. I glanced up, and he was staring at me, that same inexplicable look of frustration in his eyes. Suddenly, I identified that subtle difference in his face. Okay, we don't need that. And also, I think I removed it earlier, but when she was like, something's different about him. What is it? There are words for this. I'm trying to think of how to describe it, but it's like where the writer knows everything that's happening in the story, obviously, and then the character has to notice it all. It's like, okay, but you don't. Like, you can know more than your character knows, and she could just be noticing his contacts right now. Like, he was across the room. She was trying not to look at him. She was looking at him through her eyelashes. Like, it's fine for her to notice it now. We don't have to know at the absolute soonest moment that she could know. You know what I mean? Did you get contacts? I blurted out unthinkingly. He seemed puzzled by my unexpected question. He seemed puzzled. No? Oh, I mumbled. I thought there was something different about your eyes. He shrugged, and looked away. In fact, I was sure there was something different. I vividly remembered the flat black color of his eyes the last time he glared at me. The color was striking against the background of his pale skin and his auburn hair. I'm losing it. Today his eyes were a completely different color, a strange ochre, darker than butterscotch, but with the same golden tone. I didn't understand how that could be, unless he was lying for some reason about the contacts, or maybe Forks was making me crazy, in the literal sense of the word. No. I vividly remembered the flat black, okay, remember how she's like, the color? The truck was a red color? Just say it's black. Just say it's the color that it is. Just say the flat black of his eyes the last time he'd glared at me. The color was striking against the background of his pale skin and his auburn hair. I'm going to take that out because it makes me want to throw up and die. Today, his eyes were a completely different color. That day, his eyes were a strange ochre. Darker than... Yeah, I'm just going to say his eyes were darker than butterscotch with the same golden... No. That day his eyes were darker than butterscotch. Isn't that so much better? We know the color, and we don't have to read all of that. I vividly remember the flat back of his eyes the last time he'd glared at me. That day his eyes were darker than butterscotch. I didn't understand how that could be, unless he was lying for some reason about the contacts. I'm going to take that out because it's insufferable. I looked down. When are you not? When are you looking up, bud? Never. His hands were, I'm going to take out I looked down. And we'll just say his hands were clenched into hard fists again. Mr. Banner came to our table to see why we weren't working. He looked over our shoulders to glance at the completed tab and then stared more intently to check the answers. Why don't we just say to check our answers? So, Edward, didn't you think Isabella should get a chance with the microscope? Mr. Banner asked. Bella, Edward correctly, automatically. It's not automatically. He definitely said that word on purpose. Goodbye. I'm sorry I'm yelling. I'm sorry. We'll hang out later. Bella, Edward corrected. Actually, she identified 3 of the 5. Mr. Banner looked at me now. His expression was skeptical. We can put a comma and then take out was. His expression skeptical. Have you done this lab before? He asked. I smiled sheepishly. Not with onion root, whitefish blastula. I didn't go to school. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. Were you an advanced placement program in Phoenix? Yes. Well, he said after a moment, I guess it's good you two are lab partners. He mumbled something else as he walked away. After he left, I began doodling on my notebook again. I'm so tired of this. We're gonna call it a day. Thanks for watching, guys. This has been insufferable. If you enjoy watching me edit, check out twitch.tv/HannahLeeKidder because every Wednesday is Writing Wednesday. That's so funny to say. It's never not gonna make me giggle. And I do live critiques and edits there for like 2 or 3 hours. It's a good time. So hop on over, give me a little follow. Give me a little follow here because I upload every Thursday. That's all I got. See you next week. Bye.